So what about Facebook at the moment? Because there's been a lot of changes with like iOS 14 and what do you think, is the golden age of marketing over? Because it was sort
No,
of like, Rafferty's rules like a little while ago where you could just retarget anyone and cookie anyone. Now it's all
look,
changing.
you still can. It's not over, right? From my understanding. And look, I'll preface everything I say here with a giant big asterisk. As qualified as I am in this space, even Facebook don't know the full ramifications of these changes yet, right? So what I'm going to say is not to be taken as gospel until it's been proven out in the marketplace. This is my opinion on what I've seen and what I expect to happen, what I've seen happen myself. And I want that out. It's for the simple fact that, I mean, with digital marketing, Sam, as you would know, digital marketing is always a moving target anyway, right? We're always split testing. We're always test, review, right?
Yeah.
And tweaking and all that sort of jazz. What I have found, and this is where I can give what I feel is some pretty solid advice. Keeping in mind we're only about 2 to 3 weeks into the Facebook algorithm change, is this. Sending people off of Facebook to, say, a landing page or website at the present point in time is where issues come into play, because Facebook can no longer track iOS users anywhere near as effectively if they've opted out. And stats out of the US say 96% of people are opting out, right?
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. Now, look, in all fairness, there's a bit of NLP at play here, right? Apple turns around and says, hey, Facebook wants to track you across websites and everything you do on the internet. Would you like to let them? Yes or no? I mean, when the question is phrased that way, despite the fact I know exactly what they do with my data, I get that little gut squeeze that says, hell no, we're not playing, So I'm not surprised the number's 96%. I've seen the question. It's not a good one.
Yep.
It's not asked gently at all.
They've had their scripts and dialogues training.
Oh, yeah, they have. And they've warped them to their own ends. And look, we'd be foolish to think there's not some sort of corporate war going on. Like, we don't know the details of it, but these moves are deliberately designed to undermine each other, right? So we'd be fools to think that there's nothing going on behind the scenes. But if you're sending them off of Facebook and they're on an iOS device, Facebook pretty much loses tracking ability if they don't opt in, right? They're allowed to track one event. If they stay on Facebook, you maintain the ability to track in, from my understanding, as it currently stands today, right? This may change. The reasoning for that is any tracking that happens for behaviors on Facebook, whether they go into Messenger, Instagram, etc., any of the Facebook platforms, is happening server side on Facebook servers. So it doesn't matter what Apple try to block from the device. If the device is accessing something from the server of Facebook, Facebook can track that. Make sense?
Yeah.
You want to be drawing attention on Facebook, and then you want to be directing people who have engaged in a positive way on Facebook and directing those people off to your sales sites. You are then going to have to track manually. Now, there's a whole host of third-party tracking capability and things like that Apple can't stop, because the third-party tracking happens server-side on your server. They may just not be able to link it back to the specific ad campaign, right? So there are other options for tracking there. In terms of real estate, our strategy shouldn't change too much. There are very few real estate agents that I've come across that are tracking and retargeting effectively. Real estate agents should be using video anyway, and this just reiterates that. If you want to retarget people with an offer, an invite to the open home, with an offer of a free suburb flyover report, whatever it is, your options now are either capture their attention with the video and retarget off the back of the video,
Yeah.
or get them into Messenger.
I was going to ask you about Messenger, like thinking what else is in the Facebook ecosystem, and Messenger is the obvious choice too, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. We've had mixed success since the algorithm change with one of our campaigns. So we developed a competition chatbot product, and before the change, it was producing 100 leads per campaign like clockwork, right? Absolutely fantastic. And qualifying them as well in terms of their home ownership status. Post that, about 50% of our campaigns are hitting that 100 lead mark. The others are still hitting decent numbers, but we're trying to figure out exactly what it is that's preventing that. So we're about to run a whole bunch more testing before I take on a new flight of clients for that. The beautiful thing about the chatbot, though, is you're staying within the Facebook ecosystem. In staying within the Facebook ecosystem, you're giving yourself the opportunity to further follow up and retarget in marketing. But most importantly, and this is the second part of the equation, is this has illustrated how important it is for us to convert people from social media audiences, followers, likes, video watchers, whatever, into name, phone number, email address in our database.
Exactly.
And through that chatbot, you can gain that information. Like, you can request that information, they can give it to you. Obviously, there's got to be some incentive there for them, whether it's they're booking in for an open home, whether it's a competition, whatever it is, there's got to be incentive for that, for them to give up that information. But then you can get them off Facebook, you can get them into the database, you can get them into your follow-up systems and everything like that. And I think that it's a subtle shift, because agents have been, I'll send them to my website and show them the property and that, and you still need to do that. But you need to also now really think about, how can I get them out of the social media sphere and into my database? Because the one thing this has illustrated to all of us and reminded us is that we don't actually control the data that's in that social media sphere. We don't control the data until we get it out of that and get it into our own database.